I want to get personal, and I don't want to quote books, and perhaps through sharing something that took 23 years to share, perhaps by sharing it with myself and doing it in a more public forum, and the online forum is the most public you can get, perhaps there will be some value, both to myself and to those who hear. I talk about the actual experience as a young man of living through Gimmel Tammuz, the 3rd of Tammuz, Tavshin Nun Daled, 1994. I was just 1 year plus into my shlichus in Thailand. Just by hashgacha pratis, we were in California visiting our family when the telephone call came, and of course we rushed to New York. And Sunday, after attending the Levaya of the Rebbe, I remember sitting down on the steps of 770 with a torn garment and thinking to myself, that's it. I'm going home. I'm going to Thailand, packing my bags, coming back home. I couldn't imagine in any way, shape, or form continuing as an orphaned young man in the spiritual sense. I needed to be in my familiar surroundings. I couldn't imagine going out to the wilds of something that was so different, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And I also remember that it took milliseconds, nanoseconds, when the thought came to me almost instantaneously that, no way. The Rebbe is my Rebbe, now as before, and if I'm going to be a chassid, and he's going to be my Rebbe, then I know exactly what I have to do. I need to go back there, and I need to fulfill the marching orders the Rebbe gave me. The Rebbe gave all of us. And that is to meet darkness with increasing light, and that is to turn what seems to be an invincible kind of challenge, to turn it into renewed energy, vigor, and to do something that is going to be a game changer. I got up from the steps, went back to Thailand, and then we opened what is known now as the Chabad house. We called it Ur Menachem for the Rebbe. And this became the first Chabad house for backpackers, which over the years developed into 6 and 7 Chabad houses throughout Thailand, was replicated throughout Asia, Europe, South America, and so on. And it's become a very common concept. And I look back to that moment, and in a way, I think that for me, in a personal way, Gimmel Tammuz is every year a certain reenactment, a certain reliving of those two modes. On the one hand, as the Hayom Yom of Gimmel Tammuz, that there's a krechts, there's a deep sigh. It cannot be denied, and should not be denied, that on Gimmel Tammuz we lost something of inestimable nature. We lost something that we yearn for till this very day. We lost, for those of us who are zeiche, and for all of us, we have videos, we see what we don't have. We have it, virtually. But we see what we don't have physically here, with the Rebbe's presence physically to give a smile, to lift our spirits up with the emotion of his hand, to give us a physical dollar, to give us what we yearned for so much. We yearn for that. Gimmel Tammuz, we remember that, and we yearn for that, and the gaguim, the krechts, the sigh becomes almost intolerable. On the other hand, we know that we received something that's, as the Zohar says, tzadika de ispater ishtakach b'kula almin yata b'b'chayoy, the tzaddik is to be found even more than before. The tzaddik was never about his body. The tzaddik is about his neshama. And that neshama becomes not just greater, but it becomes more available to us. But it's a game changer. The rules of engagement have changed, and that is that if before we could conceive that it was enough just to bring ourselves physically to the presence of the Rebbe, we now know that in order to engage, in order to be imbued and to be involved with the Rebbe in a way of post Gimmel Tammuz, we need to make sure we rise to a level where our neshama becomes just a little bit more receptive to that. And there's a letter from the Rebbe in Tavshin Yud Aleph which points to that and tells the Chassidim that because we're dealing with a more sensitive spiritual connection, Shabbos is a fantastic time for Iskashus. Shabbos is a time when the world's all elevated. Every Jew is elevated on Shabbos. So Shabbos is a time where Iskashus becomes just a little bit more easy. But there's something else that's critical to the process of Iskashus and critical to Gimmel Tammuz. And that is, Foreign zum Rebbe, coming to the Rebbe. For a Jew living in Thailand, coming to the Rebbe is quite an ordeal. I'm a little jet lagged. I hope I didn't fall asleep on camera. But I just came off a 24-hour flight, and it's a long trip. But the Mittler Rebbe says in Kundasai Shtadchus, says that the truth of the matter is that a chassid relates to the spirit, to the neshama, bonds with his Rebbe wherever he is. However, because we're caught up, all of us, in the rat race of life, the Rebbe doesn't use those words exactly, but basically, we're all caught up in life and all the travails and all the things that nefesh, the gashmis, the physical things that take us and draw us and pull us down. So therefore, we need to reconnect to the Rebbe just the same way when the Rebbe was alive. We had to come and physically see him and hear his Torah, although we could have also been privy to his Torah from a distance and to his spirit. But we needed to come and reinvigorate ourselves. The same thing is, a chassid has to come to the Rebbe, also to his tzion. The chassid has to come to the Rebbe's oyel, to be reinvigorated and to be able to take from Ruach Rabbi, to be able to inculcate, to bring to himself in a pnimius, to bring into himself the spirit of his Rebbe. And to recapture the love. And the Mittler Rebbe says something which to me, personally, is a lifesaver. And he says, and if you're not sure if you love, say maybe time has jaded me. Maybe 23 years have already affected me to the point where I'm not really so much enamored or so deeply connected or so passionate about the Rebbe like I was. Says the Mittler Rebbe, if you have a rotzen, if you have a desire to come to the Rebbe, that desire, where does it come from? That's an indication you still have ahava, you still have a love. And when a chassid comes, when you come to the oyel, that becomes reinvigorated, that becomes enlivened again. And so therefore it's critical. We have to take time, effort, money, and whatever it takes to come to be by the Rebbe, to come to be by the oyel, to come and be by the Rebbe during these moments.